In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up Xenia, the Xbox 360 emulator. I won't be using the standard version of the emulator. Instead, I will be using Xenia Manager, which is designed to simplify the use and setup of the emulator, giving you an easy to use and navigate interface. Okay, let's head on over to this GitHub page. I will have the link to this page in the description below. Once you are here, look over to the right and you will see releases, and the latest version as the recording of this video is 2.2.0. Go ahead and click on that. Once you are on the next page, scroll to the bottom and you will see Xenia Manager.zip. Go ahead and click on this and your download will start. We will also need to download 7-zip. We will use this program to extract the emulator as well as our Xbox 360 ROMs. Now I have saved the Xenia Manager file on my desktop. You guys can save it wherever you like, whether that be an SSD, external hard drive, it's up to you. Now we need to extract that file and we're gonna use 7-zip. Assuming you already have it downloaded, all you need to do is right click on the file, go to show more options, 7-zip, and extract to Xenia Manager. This is going to create a new folder containing your extracted files. You no longer need the zip file, so you can go ahead and right click on that and delete it. Now I also want to show you guys how to extract your Xbox 360 ROMs, making them playable in Xenia. And I am sorry, but I cannot tell you here on YouTube where to get these games. But if you check out my Patreon page, link in the description below, I will have some videos there that can help you out. So here also on my desktop, I have a folder called Xbox 360 ROMs. And inside of that folder, I have a few games that are in the compressed format that need to be extracted. Now, once again, we are going to use 7-zip. Now, you can do one game at a time, or you can extract all of your ROMs at one time. So I'm just going to go ahead and highlight all of them, right click, go back to 7-zip, but this time I'm going to select extract here. All of my games are extracted. Now, if I show you guys the type of file they are, if I right click on one of the extracted files, go to properties, you will see that the type of file is an ISO file. This file type as well as XBLA files are playable in Xenia. Now we no longer need the zip files, so we can go through and delete those. Now let's open that Xenia folder and open this file here. Now you guys cannot see my screen because my user account control came up. When it does, click yes to allow the app to make changes. Now click install Xenia Canary. When it's done, it's going to ask you to create a profile for Xenia. Click OK, click create profile, come up with a gamer tag and then create. Lower the emulator and let's head back over to the manager. And you can also go ahead and install Xenia mouse hook. This will allow you to use your mouse while playing games in Xenia. Now let's exit out of this. And now we're going to add our games to the emulator. So come up here to the top right and click on this plus button. Now go ahead and locate wherever you have your 360 ROMs. In my case, on my desktop in that folder 360 ROMs. Now I'm going to highlight all of my games and come down to open. And it's gonna show you one game at a time. Once you see that game title here, just click on it. Then it's gonna show you the next game, click on that. Once you go through all of your games, they will be displayed here with cover art. Now to get to our settings, we're coming over here to Xenia settings. In the older version of Xenia Manager, there was an option to set up your settings for all of your games at once. But in this newer version, you have to set up your settings for every game individually. So as of right now, if you look up here, it shows the game that we are setting our settings up for. If you want to change games, you hit this little drop down arrow and you can select the game that you want to set your settings up for. Now I will also leave a link in the description to a compatibility list, and that list will also show the best settings for any playable game with this emulator. But I'm going to show you some settings to change to have a good experience with this emulator. So let's scroll down to display settings, and we're gonna go ahead and turn full screen on. This way when we load up a game, that game will load in full screen. Now for the internal display resolution, you do not want to change this from 720. This is not how you increase your resolution, and you should not change the width and height. Now for the letterbox, we do not need to see this. It will show in the bottom right of your screen, so we'll turn this off. Vertical sync should be on by default, but if it isn't, make sure this is on so we don't get any screen tearing. For the frame limit, this is where you may want to check that compatibility list, because you can turn your frames all the way up to 144. But in most cases, anything over 60 FPS will break your game, so you may want to see what game works at what frame rate. I haven't checked it, but I'm just gonna assume that AMP3 works at 60 FPS. Let's scroll down. Now for the graphics API, Vulkan will give you the best performance with this emulator, but once again, check that compatibility list because some games may perform better with Direct3D 12. Now if you want to increase your resolution in game, then you do that under Draw Resolution Scale. So right now, this is set on 1. 1 is equal to 1080p. If I bump this up to 2, then I am now at 1440p. And if I turn this up to 3, you are now at a 4K resolution. But since my monitor is 1440p, I'm gonna turn this down to 2. For anti-aliasing, we're gonna select FXAA. And for scaling and sharpening, we're gonna select AMD FSR. That will make your image quality look a lot better. Now everything else here, we are gonna leave on default settings. Now to save your settings for this particular game, in my case this is AMP3, then you want to come over here and click on your save icon. Settings have been saved, okay. So all of those settings I just made is for this game only. So if I was to go in here and select another game, say Banjo-Kazooie, if I scroll down, you will notice none of the settings are the same. Full screen needs to be turned back on, my frame rate limit is off, no graphics API is selected, which this isn't really a bad thing because when you think about it, most of your 360 games will require different settings to perform well. Now I'm going to change my game back to AMP3 because there's one more thing we need to find, that is user input settings right here. So under input system, now I have tried to use a PlayStation 5 controller with this emulator and it does not work. It seems like the only thing I have gotten to work is my Xbox One and Xbox Series controller. And right now I have an Xbox Series controller connected to my PC, which will be X input. And once again, we will have to go back up to save these settings. And just like everything else, for every game, you will also have to set up your controller. Now, if you find this setup process complicated, then you can always go back to using the old Xenia setup method by coming up here and clicking on the pencil icon. This will open your notepad and you can make your changes using the old method. Good luck. Now let's go ahead and load up a game. So let's go back over to home and I'll select AMP3 since that was the game I used settings for. Thank you for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already.